The two things that matter most to Mr. Lee are country and family. Before her death in October 2010, he spoke about life after his wife's series of strokes.
Well, at the beginning, it was when it happened. In May last year, it was traumatic because she had her first stroke in October 2003. So we dashed her to hospital, then they found a new bleed in a different position, this time more difficult position where it affects the movements. But there was still hope of some physiotherapy and maybe quality of life. Not so good as before, but she would recover. Then while she was undergoing therapy, within the first 2 weeks, she had 2 more strokes, one after another. So the doctor said, it's no use, physiotherapy cannot do anything because it was traumatic. So he brought her home, and then I had to shift into my study room, which is next to my bedroom, because she had nurses round the clock. Trauma meant I could not sleep and all sorts, so I developed heart flutter and all sorts of problems, which may have come on a few years later, but came on earlier because of the stress. But after a while, mentally you adjust yourself. I can do nothing. Doctors can do nothing except good nursing. So I've resigned myself. So have my children. And she's gradually losing more and more faculties. I think must have been more minor bleeds. So now she's got cognition, but she can't speak. So that's life. We can't choose how we go. I mean, it's a difficult way of going, but life's like that. And I've sort of adjusted and accepted the inevitable. A doctor say, even though you expect it when it happens, it's still a blow, but I can only wait and see. And I've mentally sort of prepared myself. It also reminded me of my own mortality and how quickly it could change in a flicker of a second if there's an internal bleed. But that's life, and now I'm on. I cannot choose how I'm going to go, so I just carry on my life. That's that. If you start thinking about it, you'll go downhill. Just every day is a bonus, just carry on.
Is she conscious of what is happening around her, and can she recognize?
Well, I'm the one she recognizes most. I mean, moment she hears my voice, she knows it's me. I mean, 62 years together, I mean, which makes it more difficult, because I think for her and for me, because there's full cognition. Because when I tell her, look, our daughter is in hospital with some problems, I mean, she suddenly was alert and listening to it. So there's cognition. But the hours of cognition, less and less, because she's sleeping more and more. Energy levels go down. But I've adjusted. But there'll be another adjustment when she finally isn't there, then this big house will be empty. So, but that's life, I mean. I carry on, that's that. Unfortunately, I'm able to concentrate on my other work, so life goes on. I travel, I do all the things I can. If you don't carry on with life, you just degrade, that's all. If you think you're going to sit down and read novels and play golf, you're kidding yourself, you just go down. Every day is a challenge, and every day is a problem to be solved.
Who are your confidants? Who do you turn to, when you're feeling a bit down or you want somebody sympathetic to talk to?
I would say my wife.
And now?
Now,
Do you go to her bedside to talk to her?
I do that every night. I read. I tell her what I've been doing for the day. Then I read her the news of the day from the Straits Times, IHT, Wall Street Journal. Then I read her the poems that she likes. She's flagged them. So I knew which poems she preferred. So I read them to her. That's all. My greatest joy was when my wife won the Queen's Scholarship and I managed to get her into Cambridge that same immediately after that. But that means she didn't have to wait for me for 3 years or 3 or 4 years. In the end, I stayed for 4 years, but had she not got a scholarship, I would have gone back in 3 years and finished the bar examination simultaneously. Because she said, after 3 years, we become strangers to each other. I said, no, we won't. But, she took a risk, I took a risk. We might have drifted apart. But she got the scholarship. I got her a place. And we got married that December quietly. And we came back and remarried again in 1950. I don't think that's an offense. To marry a woman twice, same woman.
The same woman is all right, yeah. In your personal life, apart from your wife's illness, what has been the most trying period?
The what?
The most trying and difficult period for you?
I think when my son's wife died, his whole framework collapsed. It's like a pole struck off. He's got a baby. Baby was born 2 weeks or something, 2 or 3 weeks before she died in October 82. No wife, little baby, one Filipino maid. So mother-in-law and mother pitched in. The mother-in-law was good enough to stay with him, with the husband, in his apartment in Cane Hill. My wife used to go there and help out, and I would take them out for walks around the Istana. The first year was very troubling. He was in a daze. But I said, no, you got to face facts. You can't all the time be grieving. But I said, at the end of the day, you got to move on. Move on means you got to find a woman who will marry you and accept these 2 children. And he found his own acquaintance, and Ho Ching was in the Defense Ministry in the cipher department, so he was in computers. He was also in cipher for some time. And I suppose they must have redeveloped the friendship. But I said, you better make sure that she accepts your 2 children, otherwise it's a real misery. You'll be sad, your mother will be sad, I'll be sad. So I think Ho Ching came in fully aware that that she's walking into a family, that's all. And in fact, she's leant over backwards.
Then what will you say is the secret of a long and happy marriage?
I think first of all, we accommodated each other. I mean, until in the end, there were few things which we fundamentally disagreed on. There were nothing we fundamentally disagreed on. And she knew my quirks, I knew her quirks, well, that's all right. She wants, she's a voracious reader. She'd read Horace, she'd read Aeneid, she'd read Gibbons, then she'd read books on fishes, on food by Cambridge, forgotten his name, but the books are there at home. I'm not interested in that, but I mean she is, so let her read it. And I'm interested in what I am doing, but like my memoirs, I would send it to her, and she would simplify it, because as a conveyancer, she's very particular about the meaning of words. They should be clear, they should be simple. And as a result, she's now influenced my writing style. I used to write convoluted sentences, the way I speak. She says, no, speaking is all right because you can repeat yourself. You can pick up where you left off, but writing, you write a sentence and you move on. So you make it clear and crisp. So, okay, I learned to write that way, which I think was an improvement. So if you look at my writings before my memoirs, the style is more with loops. But she cured me of that loop. She says, no, you want this to be read by the O-level students, you make it simple, straightforward. Don't use multi-syllable words when you can use a single syllable word, which is what Gowers suggested or advised. I said, okay. So she changed my style. I mean, it's accommodation. I thought it was a good advice. And one of my doctors told me, I read your book. I found it very simple. So I thought, she succeeded. That's all right. I mean, we adjust to each other. I left all domestic chores to her. She runs the household, she runs the maids, and I'll have to learn how to cope. And my daughter's not interested in these things. She's interested in a BlackBerry and writing the next article or getting something done. Her idea of cooking is to take something and put it in the microwave. Whereas my wife is a good cook. And although she doesn't, towards the end she wasn't cooking, she'd give instructions to the maid and says, you follow this recipe and you do this and do that, do that. And she'll know when something comes up. She's got very highly sensitive taste buds and very sensitive nostrils. She can tell straight away, oh, you put too much, I don't know what you call langquas.
Galangal.
Huh?
Galangal.
Gallons or whatever. You put too much of this and so on. Reduce it. I would not know what was wrong, but I know it didn't taste very good. But she would know what was wrong. That's that. I'll miss all that, but never mind, life goes on. So my sister helps and trains the cook. And she's a good cook too. So life means adjustment, that's all. And we make do after a while.